I'm going to do an overview here of the features and capabilities of financial reporting compliance. Note here I'm under Philip Kent. I'm on Philip's homepage. From here I can navigate to all the objects. We have a process, a risk, a control, assessment. What I can navigate and what data I see is basically defined by Philip Kent's security profile. So I can control by individual, by group, what they can see, what data they can see, and what actions that they can perform in the system. Let's first go to some of another portion of this dashboard and look at some built-in business intelligence. So we have infolets here. These are essentially objects you build with our embedded business intelligence tool that allows you to create business intelligence objects that are embedded in the application. So here it is. I can look at financial controls, assessments, where we are, status. You build these based on your organization's needs, based on the particular role's need, and then embed this in the application. So it's interesting. Not only do we have built-in business intelligence where you can build dashboards, reports, and such, but then once you've built those objects, you can embed those into your business processes. You can embed those into the application. And then use those as part of your business flows. I'm going to go back to Philip's homepage. Again, we've got built-in collaboration. Here, Philip can create a conversation. Maybe we have a team meeting coming up next week. And what he can do here is he can go ahead, create a conversation. He can decide who this goes to, how it's distributed. He can put attachments onto it. He can create groups of conversations. So it's nice, it's embedded again into the application. You've got a collaborative tool that allows you to be able to, post messages and really have efficient conversations and collaboration among your financial compliance. Let's say team meeting next week. Again, you can put attachments on all of attachments and do formatting. You can do collections, people, group. You can post things to a wall. You can look at conversations that are trending. A really good way to really embed conversations, collaboration into the tool, so it's not separate, right? So it's not an email, some other source. It's all embedded in one enterprise application. All right, let's go home again here. We'll go into first with the process. Remember, there's really kind of major objects are process. For example, procure to pay. We define your process, what the aspects are, what the business flow is. Then you can do risk analysis. What are my risks? Probability, impact, create business models, determine which of those risks you want to mitigate, and then ultimately go through and assign controls. And then make a determination whether those controls adequately mitigate those risks, do assessments throughout the entire process, raise issues. So let's first look at the business processes. So here are all the business processes that I'm currently assigned to, that I'm working on within my area. So we have them all listed out here. And again, this is user defined. You define what your business processes are and then describe those processes. I can also just clarify. I can say a business process is with an audit testing, maybe it's with an assessment, maybe it's not. So you have at that top level the ability to group your risks, your controls, and from assessment perspective, decide what's in and what's out. It gives you a little more latitude and a little more flexibility. Let's drill into one of these processes and look at some of the details. So again, here's my processes. This is just kind of an overall description of the process. We can do attachments, we can do Visios. Within here, we can actually do an assessment on this. Assessment being, have we adequately describe it, get it reviewed and ultimately approved. Do action items. If I need someone to take action on this, maybe update or get documentation. Raise issues. Is there a problem where I want to then be able to create an issue and maybe a mitigation plan along with that. And then ultimately, if we've done assessments, be able to look at the results. Again, we can add comments, we can put perspectives. And perspectives give us the ability to assign a particular object, whether it be a risk. It gives you a dimensionality, whether it be an organization, a type of framework. We can have multiple, maybe one's A123, another's PhysCam, describe business process. It really gives you the ability to take at the highest level your business processes and group those together, whether it be for reporting, whether it be for assessments, whether it be for, maybe it's an issue with security based on organization. So now I'm going to page down here. I'm going to look at some related records. Again, the related records in this case are risks that have been assigned to this particular process. So, we have one here, duplicate payments. We could have numerous, right? We just, in this case, happen just to have one. This is a risk, so we can go ahead and drill into this and look at the details. And so again, here's a description of our risks. We can do attachments. Within this, we can do an analysis of risk. We're doing probability, impact. We can create an evaluation. We create our own evaluation models. How do we, as an organization, judge risk? How do we go through and evaluate risk? We can put controls on it. We can do assessments with this, and I'll show you assessments once we get to the controls. But it's really the same process of being able to set up evaluation, set up approvers, and go through a process of ultimately approving. And here's some again issues. We can page down here. We have perspectives. These all are the same in terms of their structure, meaning the objects or the processes, the risks, controls. And now I can look at my related records. Related records in this case are going to be controls. I've had my risk. We've maybe made a determination that this is something we need to mitigate, and we're going to assign controls to it. In this case, I only have one control in here, but note we could have numerous controls. I'm going to go here, and let's go ahead and drill into it. So we went from process to risk to controls. We'll drill into that. And here we are at our control. Got a description. What type of enforcement it is. Is it preventive, detective? Is it automated or manual? How often should we do assessments on this and evaluations? What are the assertions? Well, in this case, it's completeness, existence, occurrence, and rights and obligations, but you can define your own. You can come up with your own. Is it in scope for audit testing, assessments? You can go down here. We can have test plans associated with it. So if I go through and do an assessment, how do I actually test this? And again, we can have related records. In this case, these would be your risks or processes. You don't necessarily have to use risks. So you could say, hey, I've got these processes, and now I've got these controls associated with it. And if you're not a risk-based organization, just go ahead and skip those. From that same standpoint, you really don't even need to do processes. If you just want to go in, list out your risks, lay out your test plans, and go through and do that evaluation, you can use that. So really each one of these objects, major object classes, are independent. Let's now look at an assessment. So we have one assessment that we've created related to this control. Again, you can create as many as you want, multiple different types. Let's go ahead and look at this. There we are. So we've got our assessment. Its assessment plan is just kind of ad hoc. You can create your own plans with your own steps, your own controls associated with it. Here it is. We've got an assessment name. We can put a creation date, a start date, an assignment date. We've got assessors. So what will happen is this is all workflow enabled. All of these assessors will be notified, right? They'll be notified to complete an assessment on this. Then we have reviewers. Same thing, as this gets reviewed, these people will ultimately they'll be notified via workflow. And then approvers. These will be the people responsible for reviewing the assessment, looking at all the documentation and such, and making a determination. Note, from a standpoint of notifications, when I sign in, I would see this has been assigned to me in my work list. right? I can go here if I want and complete my, I know I've got my start date, my due date, and issue status. Go in, I can complete an assessment here. And really, kind of the assessment is kind of a multi-step process. So here I am. I'm going to do my assessment. And up top here, you'll see I've got a breadcrumb that will go through and give me an introduction. And then go through and I can look at my prior results and ultimately go through and complete my assessment. And here's my assessment details that I can look at if I'm assigned to do this assessment. I've got the assertions, kind of the high level details, any attachments are associated with it. It's all self-navigation here. I can go next. I can look at my prior results. Ultimately, very important, in terms of were there any issues, any problems and such with this previous. I can look at those and drill down, and then ultimately go through next, and I can complete the assessment. So I can go through here, pass, fail, go through, put my any attachments on here, note my results. Also view my test plans and how to actually do this, and then go through and certify. So back on our control, we can go in here and we can raise issues. Again, here's an issue related to valid supplier invoices. We need our documentation updated. This will be, again, you can put details, comments. You can put a remediation plan associated with it, and it'll be routed. You can put due dates, assignment dates, assign it to individuals, or just have it go through a default assignment based on the application setup. So now let's go home and look at some additional features. So within here, we can look at our assessments. We can look at all of our assessments to be able to see what the status is. So all those assessments, maybe I'm monitoring, that I'm involved with, I can look at them and see where we're at in terms of completion. Here we are, and these are assessments that I've been assigned or that I'm working on. I can then go into manage the assessments. We could drill into each one of those and actually go through and complete the assessment if I've been assigned or review details on it. And here's one look where I can look at all my assessments, what the progress is, and then be able to maybe close the assessment or edit the assessment. But it's one place to be able to view all the assessments, what the status is, and be able to look at the details associated with it. So let's go back to the home page, and we can just quickly take a look here at surveys. Again, surveys give you the ability to create a survey, create your questions, create the content of the survey, and then distribute it. And then have your, those people you just distributed to, have them respond to it, collect those answers, and then go ahead and aggregate the responses. It's very good from the standpoint of maybe doing a risk assessment. I'm going to go in, I'm going to do an audit on a particular department or a particular area. I can write questions related around has management changed, has systems changed, have personnel changed, and be able to really kind of get an evaluation of a risk environment, but also really for any other purpose that you want to be able to take a survey and gather information. So here I'm at the overview page. You can see I have one that I've been assigned to. I can also look at all my surveys and see here's the survey. I can look and see how many people responded. I can actually drill in and look at the responses. So here's one particular survey. We can go ahead and click on that and drill in. Here's the survey itself. Those are all the respondents that are associated with it. Here's the questions. And I can go in here and preview the survey. Next, and it'll do a listing of all the questions. So you can see exactly what each one of the respondents will be asked. Again, these are pretty much yes and no, but you can really create any format that you would like in terms of the questions. All right, let's go and now look at some business intelligence. So I navigate directly from the application into our business intelligence capabilities. And here you see I've got some dashboards that I created. Again, these are all user configurable. You don't need to be a programmer. It's all really drag and drop. Really in two aspects. One, we take data from the application and put it into a form that you can easily evaluate and be able to select fields and then be able to create that data that you want. And two, then being able to create the objects, pie charts, all that kind of stuff. Here we've got a pie chart that breaks down a risk by process, a risk analysis. We're looking at probability impact. Again, another way of looking at risk analysis. This is all embedded into Microsoft Office. So if you don't want to use this interface, you can use Excel or PowerPoint to be able to create and display your business objects. Essentially what you're doing is, connecting to our business intelligence layer and to be able to create your objects. Again, here's risk by organization, top 10 risks, and of course the risk and control matrix, which is generally used throughout auditing to be able to do an evaluation of process, the risk, look at the controls, and then be able to evaluate based on impact and such.